The Wingstop soundstage. Thanks to everybody who came out here today. Give you guys a round of applause. My goodness, early in the morning. Vlade, Doug, Peja, Bobby. It's like a boy band. You only need first names. Signing stuff and having fun. All right, let's. I saved this for the second half because now we're getting into the Oprah stuff, the tough questions.
Do you guys want me to take this? Here, I'll take it.
They can sign and talk.
You want to keep going? Well, they have to hold
Oh,
the
they have to
microphone.
hold the mic, right? Yeah. Wow.
That shows you how great his hands are.
Yeah, that's why he was dropping the balls. Always my passes were going.
All right, so let's go back. I know that just from my perspective as a lifelong Kings fan, I think I speak for a lot of people listening and in the crowd. You know, 2002, there's mixed emotions there. That was the last fist fight I got into, was with a Laker fan at a bar.
Me too.
It was,
Did you win your first
Jackie. Oh, no, that was the next year. But I've always wondered, you know, you guys were on the floor. You lived and died with this. This was your life. But do you still take it? Does that still bother you, or are you over it? You know, I've always been curious, the fan versus the player.
Let me just say this before you answer the question. I work every day on the radio with this guy, and it's at least once a week that the burn from 2002 as a fan stings him something fierce. So as a player, it's a little bit different. Some players are able to let it go. Others, it still resonates with you. Where are you guys at with 2002 and how that all worked out?
I'm fine with it. I'm over it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Did you go to therapy, Bobby? Did it take a while? Was there professional help?
For me, I'm different. You know, I don't harbor a lot of things. You know, I'm real competitive. And at the time, you know, we knew we were the best team in the league. And once that series was over with, we was like, we just got screwed. You know, and that's what you feel like when you fight so hard and you work so hard, building up a training camp, the off season, and a couple calls here and there, but I don't think about it unless somebody bring it up like Carmichael Dave.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I try to not to think about the past. You know, I think whatever is meant to happen is supposed to happen.
Peja?
During my playing days, I wasn't thinking as much about it because you are always in a moment of competing and believing that you can always make up on the things that you didn't achieve. But as years have moved on and you can understand that some of those opportunities that we had, they were so close, they just slipped away. Mm-hmm. And as older you get, I think I remember more now than when I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, as Bobby said, you have to move on with your life. I mean, it's we can just remember the times that we had together as a team, great times on court and off the court. But there was one great opportunity that we had, and we were not able to accomplish that. So we had to move on.
You know, probably a bit unhealthy, but no, I'm not past it. I understand, like Bobby.
You say you're not past it?
No, because to Peja's point, as I sit and as I think, and you know, I've trained athletes and work with athletes, so I continue to try to hone different parts to try to help them. So the problem with that is I see my inadequacies when I played, and I sit and I go, dang, I could have done that. Mm-hmm. I could have done that. So but what gives me a reprieve is the ability to be here. And like I tell Vlade, you know, whatever I can do to try to help facilitate getting that. Now it's not us doing it, but we have a touch of it. But it's difficult because when you get that close at this level, there's nothing like it. And then to do it with a group of guys like we had, that is, and more than anything for the fans, because we get so much crap from South and different stuff, I wanted them to be able to walk with their chest and their head high and say,
Mm-hmm.
ha.
You're number one.
Oh, you're number one. All right. Oh, what about you? Vlade?
I feel more for the fans than for myself and the team. We know we were a better team, and it was clearly, on the floor, that we felt like, we're number one. We didn't win, but we felt we were a better team. But for the fans, that's why I think we are back. To try to bring that excitement and opportunity again for the fans and for our entire city.
Can I add something to that?
No, you're not allowed to speak, Peja.
No,
Please go ahead.
it's something to just to this to that year. I saw Kobe last year at his last year, and I saw him at the Staples Center, and we talked about the years that we competed against each other, and I told him, like, I mean, you guys could have gave the one, you will still have four. But he said something that kind of stuck to me. He said, if we have lost, because I think they feared us. He said, if we have lost that one to you guys, you would went onto the run, winning maybe a second one or the third one. And to this point, and just the respect that we had around the league, and even to our biggest opponent, it's special.
As you know, being a competitor, when you're competing against someone, so when we say like we were the best team, when you're competing against somebody, because we're touching each other, it's physical, and I think that to a man, we knew that they knew. That's how that Robert Horry game, like in the first quarter, we were up 20. I mean, just boom. But you meet two of the probably top 5 players of all time in their absolute alpha dog prime, and they figured out a way to get over that.
And you guys, you guys got beat handily by the Lakers those first 2 years. Yeah. So when did the switch flip? Was there a specific thing? When did you know? You know what? We got these guys.
I would say every year we could feel incrementally getting closer, tick, tick, because from the very first time when they swept us, they were sweeping us, but we were losing by like 8, 10, 9. So, it was hurting, but we were like, dang. And then all of a sudden, when you start just beating them like that, like, okay, we got this.
We'll get off 2002 in a second, but the other thing I've always wondered with you guys, which, whether you're over it or not, when you think about it, which over the years when you did think about it bothered you more? Game 6 or Game 7? Game 6 being the one that you won't say it, I will. You got screwed royally on and jacked up on. Game 7 was at home, and in Game 7, we've always wondered: did you guys get tight? Was it mentally being drained from Game 6? Which one, when you look back on, actually bothered you more?
Interesting.
I think Game 7. I think the things you can as a player think about the things that you can control. We had a home court advantage. It's on us. We didn't take care of the business, and for whatever reason, missed shots, missed rebounds, missed free throws. We just didn't win that game, and that was it. I think.
Bobby?
I think Game 7 also. I think we had a great opportunity. Even though Game 6 was a huge, if we win Game 6, I think, it was over with. But I think Game 7, we held the fate of the destiny in our hands. And you can only ask for that. I think a couple things we missed, like Peja said, missed rebounds, missed free throws, missed open jump shots, and LA's been in that situation before. We haven't. And so you got to play all those things. You got to put all those things in perspective. But if I had to do it again, I would love to do it again because, sitting on the court with these guys and the rest of my teammates, and going to war with them was probably the best feeling in the world.
Were you guys better in 2003? Weber got hurt.
Well, I don't think we were better because Chris missed a lot of games. Chris was big part of this team. And we miss him a lot.
Especially before he got hurt.
Oh,
when
before,
he
yeah.
got hurt in the playoffs, I meant the next year regular season. Did you feel like you took another step?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Probably not even. I mean, Game 7, very painful. But to me, Game 1, that was the game because we would do this a lot because not in cocky. I think that we were really good, so we would just kind of come out. And we let them get Game 1. We did that against Utah too, and then we came back and we snapped in. And a lot of times whether it was depending on our fans, and we knew, it's going to happen here in a second. It'll just go. And then after we would lose, that's why we didn't lose 2 in a row or 3 in a row. We never lost 3, I don't think, but 2 in a row that often because after we lost from a man, we would just be like, let's go, and we would just kick in. So for me, Game 1 was the deflating for me in person.
In retrospect. Do we have time, or do
We've
we have to go
got
to break?
time, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do a fan question because I kind of feel that this has happened quite a bit in the last few years, and maybe before, but with the Warriors and the dominance that they've had over the last few years, there's been a litany of former players that have come out and had their opinions on their team, what they would have been able to do about it, and Doug, you obviously deal with this a lot on the radio side as well, but this is a question from Teddy in Sacramento. If you could go toe-to-toe with any of the greatest teams of all times, the Bulls in the 90s, the Pistons in the 80s, and I'm going to add the Warriors now and even maybe the Celtics, how do you think you guys would have matched up against them?
Start with the Warriors, honestly. I mean, how that's the question. How do you think that team, your team, would have matched up with the Warriors of today?
To name all those teams, I think we would have done really well against all of them because I think that the Warriors have now taken what we did, and Steve Kerr said as much to me, except they added a prolific three-point. We had one guy shooting a lot of three-pointers where, if we maybe would have all shot it would have been different.
Me and Chris, we love to shoot the three.
Yes.
Couldn't make it, but we love it.
But then when you take that and you match it against those older teams,
right,
it matches as well because we had a 7-footer, we had power, your typical power forwards, but then we also had your Draymond who could bring the ball up, and Chris and Vlade can handle them, pass the ball. So really, I think, not to say we maybe would have beat all of them, but we would have competed on a really high level against all of them, I think.
And do you think that's kind of the evolution of the game? Because the three-point shot has changed the game, and that's why you see the makeup of a roster that looks like the Warriors these days. And it's evolved in that way. And now you've got centers that are terrific three-point shooters and so on and so forth. Do you think that time period specifically, the early 2000s, is really where it started to change and the game started to go in a totally different direction, kind of away from maybe more of the physicality and the ground, like just pound it inside, look that direction. Do you think that your guys' team specifically started that transition into the three-point shot?
Absolutely. I think, the way we play, Princeton, offense, a lot of coaches looking the tapes from our team back in 2000, and like Doug said, Steve also adding stuff, but the base is what we had here in early 2000.
Well, and even Mike D'Antoni said when he accepted his Coach of the Year award last year, he said, I basically stole my whole playbook from Rick Adelman.
Yeah, I think that we probably don't get credit because we didn't win a championship, but when you think about it, the San Antonio Spurs, they say the beautiful game. Well, we played against them, it was but ugly. Their game was not beautiful. Our game was beautiful, and and that's really what you do, is you take here and there and you put it together. It's just without a championship, you don't really get credit.
I think we were also, as Vlade and Doug mentioned, we were a traditional team. We had the traditional center with the traditional power forward. We kind of played both styles, but we kind of started that faster pace. But as you look back and look teams now last since 2010, all the teams are assembled by the 3-4 all-stars, and none of those guys have grown with that team. They came from different teams to join other guys to win championships. I think the beauty with us is we kind of we grew together. We kind of pushed each other to be the best we could, and
I just think it's a different era of basketball, and we all concur and say the same thing. Being able to, start something and revolutionize something, I think that's something we all were creative in our own minds. Everybody knew what I was going to do when I came in the game. I was going to shoot the damn ball. Everybody knew what his job was. Defensive guy. Vlade, if I come off an injury, I'm a shooter as quick than anybody. So I think we all understood what our roles were on the team. But, when you talk about Golden State, you talk about Chicago, you talk about Houston, all those guys, like I said, I think they all have taken a piece of what we have created, because I think we led the league in scoring, and it was easy, and we didn't go join each other. We was assembled by Jeff Petrie, and that's the difference. These guys are going to play with their best friends, and they trying to figure out a way to win an NBA championship. Nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
It's just old school guys, we didn't think that way.
But I think it's normal. It's natural. You as a player, you always looking on the back, and I know my game. I would steal something from Hakeem, from David Robinson, from Patrick Ewing, even work with Kareem. You just add on your. So same thing, I think, for the team. They're looking in the back and try to improve and make it better.
It was such a beautiful style of play that rings today, and then the rivalry itself. There was the play, and then of course the Lakers, and we talked about that rivalry. And now with De'Aaron Fox and Lonzo Ball, and both teams backing on the rise, I've always wondered, because I know you've been asked this before, Doug, but the three of you, what were you thinking the next year when Doug and Jackie and Shaq were beating on each other and we're just coming off this huge series? I remember Doug, I remember Jackie, I remember Shaq. I don't remember. Were you guys in that? Were you brought back by security?
The entire team, with Jeff Petrie too. Basically, the entire team was in the tunnel.
So it carried over. That rivalry was not made for TV. A lot of times today you've got New York and LA or this and that, whatever. That was before Twitter. Almost thank God that was before Twitter. That would have gotten ugly. What you guys did not like each other at all.
No, that was a preseason game.
Yeah.
And really, you guys can credit Bobby for the fisticuffs in the back because it got seen by the cameras. Because as I got ready to go off the court, Bobby said to me, "AD, watch out! He ran around." So I
checked
stopped
out everything.
So I stopped running and started walking. And if I would have ran, we would have been back where cameras wouldn't have saw. But thanks, Bobby.
It's your fault.
I got your back.
Just to recap, you're the one guy on earth that when somebody says Shaquille O'Neal is running around the arena coming after you, you slowed down.
No, he was talking about Rick Fox.
Oh, that's right. Rick.
Actually, after it happened, Lawrence, bless his heart, Funderburg, he grabbed me from the back. And if you've ever been in a fight, you don't grab your guy, you grab the other guy. But Lawrence grabbed me, and he took me to the part, in the tunnel where you can see both ways. And I see Shaq way down at the other end. He's running, and I'm thinking, Lawrence, let me go. Yep. And he went. So I told him, I said, look, man, as he kept coming closer, I'm like, if you don't let me go, when I get loose, I'm going to fight you. And he let me go. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
You guys obviously had a lot of fun, and I recall, I think there was a moment where Peja and I were doing something at the old Arco Arena. God rest its soul. And we were doing something like a fan Q&A, and you were telling me, we were talking about transitioning over here to the NBA as a foreign player, and there's a lot of fun to be had in that when you bring different people from different backgrounds together. But you guys had a lot of fun with it. There was a story that sticks out to me that I need you to tell about them giving you a hard time for how you dressed, and how it even went as far as to name a play after your pants.
Go down, tight pants.
Who was the person that always
Tight
gave you a
pants.
hard time?
Bobby. But you can see Bobby now. Bobby's buttons are flying away. If you sit closer to Bobby, you may get killed by the button.
So he used to give you a hard time for your pants being too tight, like, which is a very in-style thing now.
I mean, it's too tight. I mean,
It was super tight. It wasn't too tight. It was super tight.
He was ahead of the curve.
I mean, late 90s. I mean, it was. I think it was very surprisingly fitted for the for the people from North Carolina. But it's not my fault.
That you're a fashion icon. So they named a play, what, Tight Pants?
TJ, tight jeans.
TJ, Tight Jeans.
Tight jeans.
So what exactly was that play?
It was a four down basically the play was, but it was stagger.
You got scouts, from other teams,
Yeah.
so they know when we called 4 down.
Yeah.
That's for Peja, so we changed. It was
So there was the pick that I would get like two screens come out of it and get a shot.
screens.
Get a shot.
Let it fly, yeah.
Get a shot, but it's the Bobby was the one, and then every time I see Bobby these days, I mean Bobby, this is tighter than I ever wore. Bobby took it to a different level.
You guys,
Hey, we can find a clothes that
you guys have been amazing. Thank you so
been an
much.
hour?
Yes, it has.
Jeez.
Yeah.
1 hour in the
Come on, let's
books.
stay another one.
We're just getting started, man.
You're just now finishing your coffee. You're finally awake there,
we
Vlade.
can keep talking a little off the air, but to our air folk, thanks so much for tuning. Guys, seriously, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
out.
thank you.
Thank you guys.
Peja and Bobby,
Give a
everybody.
hand, everybody.
Jim Roman's next.